The Great Walks of New Zealand are premium treks that pass through diverse and spectacular scenery. As at 2025, there are 11 Great Walks, and 3 of the Great Walks can be easily accessed from Queenstown and Te Anau. They are the Routeburn Track, the Milford Track, and the Kepler Track. This year, join us as we complete 3 Great Walks in one season through storm and sun, with a side trip to the beautiful Mount Cook National Park, witnessing the most amazing New Zealand scenery. We are setting off at 5:38 AM. Here is the plan. We will hike from the Routeburn Falls Hut up to the Harry Saddle, descend to the Lake Mackenzie Hut, and then out to the divide to catch our transport at 3:30. Our attempt to rearrange our transport out from the divide failed. There was no response even though we tried to use the hut warden's personal phone. Well, we figured that the worst case scenario was either 1. Hitchhike from the divide to Te Anau, or 2. Sleep at the divide shelter and find a way to Te Anau the day after. It is 7:30 and we have reached the Harry Saddle shelter. We saw the keas. Do you know that keas are the world's only alpine parrots and they have the intelligence of a smart 3-year-old? Yay! Lake Mackenzie Hut! We're finally here! We had a simple lunch by Lake Mackenzie. In good weather, the lake would have been beautiful, and I am sure Mr. G and I would have spent our whole afternoon, evening and morning sitting, eating and drinking tea by the lake. And for this, I made a promise to myself that I will return to do the Routeburn Track one day. Let me do a quick tour of the Lake Mackenzie Hut before we leave. After all, we were supposed to have stayed here on day 2. The Lake Mackenzie Hut has 3 blocks. The main block held the dining area, which was smaller than the Routeburn Falls Hut one. The stoves and sinks were at the back. Lake Mackenzie Hut has 50 bunks and was split into 2 rooms. The first room was on level 2 of the same block as the dining area. Now, the Lake Mackenzie Hut has what I call the pai pai shui kind of layout. In the first room, there were only 12 separated bunk beds, and the rest were side by side. This means that you have to be really early to be able to get one of these single bunks. In the second room, which was on level 2 in another block a short walk away, the bunks were all side by side. Well, Mr. G had a bad experience when we hiked Yushan a few years ago because the guy beside him was turning and tossing so much that he kicked Mr. G throughout the night. So we are always a little bit more apprehensive about such sleeping arrangements. Lastly, the toilets were in a standalone block. Sometimes I wonder why the toilets were separated. Mr. G said so that the smell doesn't get to the sleeping area. But to me, this also means that you will be wet if it rains. Time check, 3:20 p.m. We finally made it to the divide. Please tell me that we made it for the shuttle. The ride back to Tianu took about 1 hour. The driver kindly dropped us at our accommodation and my legs didn't feel like my legs when I got off the shuttle. More about our accommodation in another episode. It's time for a hot shower and a feast to celebrate our first great walk.
Can be reduced by half, you serious?
Wow, look at the view from the dining area. This might be the best beach walk I've ever done. Hello. Okay, so while drinking our favorite milk, let's do a recap of our let's do a recap of our Routeburn Track. Okay, so the Routeburn Track is 3 days, 2 nights. And then, so we bought the bus from Queenstown and it stops us at Routeburn Shelter. So from Routeburn Shelter, we are supposed to walk to the Routeburn Falls Hut.
That's for day 1. Then day 2 is from Routeburn Falls Hut to the Mackenzie Hut. And then day 3 is from Mackenzie Hut to the Divide. So the Routeburn Track, you can do it either way. You can do it from the Divide to the Routeburn Shelter, or you can do it from the Routeburn Shelter to the Divide. Okay, so we chose the one from the Routeburn Shelter to the Divide. So day 1 started sunny. Then, okay lah, not too bad. The track wasn't too difficult. There was actually another hut between Routeburn Shelter to Routeburn Falls Hut. That was the Routeburn Falls Hut, which I don't think many people stay there because that is approximately about 2 hours from the start point lah. But so it took us about 2 hours from the Routeburn Shelter to the Routeburn Falls Hut where we had lunch. Right. Then it started to rain. The weather forecast wasn't very good lah. So anyway, it started to rain. We had a short break, and then it was a steep ascent all the way up to the Routeburn Falls, and then it continued to rain. Anyway, we were at the hut already, so we just relaxed and then eat our dinner. But when we were at the Routeburn Falls Hut, we saw the weather forecast for the next day, and it was bad lah. In some way, the forecast was something like heavy rain and strong winds. The heavy rain was forecasted at, I don't know, 32 mm, which is something like you turn on your shower and you walk into it, that kind of rain lah. And then no again. What is 32 mm?
32 mm.
I don't know lah. Anyway, just very heavy rain lah. And then
not very heavy.
Not very heavy meh? Quite
Okay,
heavy
like
lah.
normal Singapore rain.
Normal Singapore rain. Okay, normal Singapore rain. Then the winds was forecasted at, it might even reach 110 kilometer lah. And so actually in day 2, right, from Routeburn from Routeburn Falls Hut to Mackenzie Hut, involved crossing the Hairy Saddle, and the whole track is going to be very exposed lah. Because usually for the great walks the day 2s are the most scenic and the most exposed one, because you are somewhere up on the ridge and the top, right? So anyway, when the wind forecast is so strong, there was a risk that the track might just be closed lah. So anyway, the warden that night also informed us about the weather forecast. So she told us not to leave the hut before 8 a.m. the next day, so that we can wait for actual forecast and to see if the track will be closed. So yeah, that is what happened. Yeah, so actually we had 3 options lah. Option 1 was from Routeburn Falls Hut, we go back to where we come from. That means we go back to the Routeburn Shelter, and then there will be a transport that brings us back to Queenstown. But this means that there are going to be a lot of logistic problem lah, because we need to find accommodation at Queenstown, and then we need to find our way to Tianu, which is supposedly our end point. So logistic problems. Option 2 was to hope that the track remain open. We just have to bash through the rain, which means 5 hours of heavy rain in very exposed area and potentially very strong winds. To all the way, just bash through and go to the Mackenzie Hut lah. There's definitely not going to be any views. So option 3, which I proposed, was that we stay at the Routeburn Falls Hut for another day, and we are going to do a very long day on day 3, which means we just have to move from Routeburn Falls Hut to Mackenzie Hut and then to the Divide in one day. But this means it's about 24.3 kilometer and potentially a 9, 10 or even 11 hours hike if you're very slow. So yeah, anyway, we discussed and we took option 3, of course lah, because bashing through the rain and the wind, right, it's just ridiculous lah. You're not going to see any views, right? You're just going to chiong all the way to the Mackenzie Hut. Anyway, on the day 2 morning, the warden actually informed us slightly before 8 a.m, probably 7 plus a.m. that the track is open. So the warden just said that, okay, if you want to leave ASAP already, okay, don't wait already, just go. If not, the wind and the rain is just going to get worse during the day. Anyway, we decided then that we're going to go with option 3. We're going to stay put at the Routeburn Falls Hut for another day and do nothing and just do a very long day on day 3. Yeah, that was the decision lah. So anyway, we just do nothing for the whole of day 2, and you'll just be very amazed lah. Do nothing, also the day can pass by one lah. So then come day 3. So day 3, we actually woke up at about 4:15 a.m. I think we woke up about 4 to 4:15 a.m. And then we grabbed our stuff out of the bunk rooms. We packed at the dining area. And then we had a very quick breakfast. And we left at about 5:40 a.m. in the dark lah. And in the rain too. But the rain was definitely much smaller already. It was slight drizzle but manageable. Okay, so yeah, about 7:30 we reached the Harry Saddle. Actually, we crossed the Harry Saddle already by 7:30. We reached that emergency shelter already. Yeah, 7:30 lah. And then we had a short break. We had some snacks again before we quickly left for the Mackenzie Hut. Anyway, there wasn't much views as well, but definitely no rain. The views was okay because it was like cloudy, foggy, very light drizzle. And then, well, we got to the Mackenzie Hut about, 10:40? 10:45? I can't really remember. Yeah, then Mackenzie Hut, we had our lunch. We took some photos. I would imagine the Mackenzie Hut will be very pretty if it's a bright sunny day, because the lakes, right, is really very nice. So if it was a good weather day, right, I'm sure we would have sat at the lake and ate our dinner or drink some tea or just sit there and stare at the lake lah. But too bad that didn't happen because of the bad weather. So after Mackenzie Hut, we just continue on to the divide, thinking that we had pretty much enough time lah. So we walked on and the sky actually started to open up lah, and the sky really, there were some very good views along the way out. And because of the rain the day before, right, we had a lot of waterfalls. There was just like waterfalls all over the place, and it was like, wow, the waterfall was great lah. There was just many little falls here and there all over the place. And then the most memorable one was the Earland Falls. Earland Falls. Wow, which was very fun lah, because actually the trek, right, you have to trek past the falls, which brings you very close to the bottom of the falls. And because of the rain, right, the fall was just and you just get drenched lah, actually. But it was just very fun lah. I was just like screaming at the falls, right? But then after that, you just feel very chill. It's like wow. I think I had a lot of fun at the falls lah. Anyway, the views did open up a bit on our way out lah, and the falls was very fun. And then finally we reached this point that tell us it takes another hour to the divide. Okay, the trick here, the thing is, our bus picked up was at 3:30. And when we saw that sign that says 1 more hour to the divide, right, it was already 2:30. Then we're like, oh no, we have exactly 1 more hour to go. So from then on, right, I never take any more photos and videos, right? We just chong. I think I've never walked as fast as ever in my life lah. And then I overtake so many people, then chong. Then anyway, we did make it to the divide. So we took about 50 minutes, even though the sign say 1 hour, we took about 50 minutes. We made it to the divide at about 3:20, where the bus driver was waiting for us already lah. So all in all, I think the Routeburn Track would have been better if it was a good weather lah. But then still quite fun lah. I think the falls was though. I think I said this many times. Yeah. So what's your most memorable part? What you should eat? What's the most memorable part of the trip?
The fall?
Waterfall only. Okay, like that only. 这样而已啊。Okay, can.
打水哦。
打水 Oh, yeah. So, let's talk about water. Water on the track. Actually, if you look at the DOC, the DOC, the Department of Conservation video, they will tell you to bring 3 liters of water. Maybe for safety, you have to bring 3 liters of water. On the first day, I think I brought 2.5 liters, and you probably brought closer to 3 liters. Anyway, we are so compliant. We followed the guide, they tell us to bring 3 liters. But I think on day 1, I only drank 700 ml. Wow, so heavy, bring so much water, so heavy. I don't know how much water you drank, but probably maybe about 1 liter the most. So the thing about Routeburn Track is that there's no need to bring so much water. Because remember from Routeburn Shelter, we walked to the Routeburn Hut first, right, before we go to the Routeburn Falls Hut. So actually at the Routeburn Hut, in front, right, there is a stream of flowing water where you can collect water, or you can get some water, you can get some drinkable water already. So, or you really don't need so much water. Actually,
if you have filter.
If you have filter. Okay, we did have a filter lah. So, but if you don't mind, you might be able to just drink from the stream lah. But we did have a filter. So, if you have a filter, then you really don't need to bring so much water. Then actually from the Routeburn Falls Hut, right, to the Mackenzie Hut, even from the Mackenzie Hut all the way to the divide, right, there was many streams along the way. I remember it was a day after a heavy rainfall, right? I think there was no lack of water at all. So actually from the day 3 where we did the very big day, right, we only carried about 1 liter of water and we just keep refilling it along the way. So that was good enough lah. So yeah, thanks to Doc. I think Doc is just being very safe lah. But for the Routeburn Track, I really don't think you need so much water. Or you don't really need to carry so. Anything else you want to add?
It's the warden guy.
Warden?
The warden told us.
Oh yeah. Anyway, the tip was from the warden lah. So the warden actually told us. We told the warden that we are going to do a very long day. We asked for if he have any tips lah. So this was one of the tips that he told us, like don't bring any water to lighten the load. And then actually the warden was very good lah. Big shout out to the warden John. I think his name was John. Then he actually estimated that we will take 9 hours, which we did quite take about 9 hours. And then 9 hours of actual trekking and about 45 minutes of rest lah, which is a 15 minutes break at the emergency shelter and a half-hour lunch. So all in all, it took about 9 hours and 45 minutes to get through the long day. Yeah, I think that's all. This is our first great walk. Kepler next. Let's really hope for some good weather. And yeah, see you then.